This game recap is brought to you by Manscaped's Foot Duster Foot Deodorant. Say goodbye to stinky foot funk with this essential deodorant spray. Head over to manscaped.com and use the promo code SACCITY for 20% off and free worldwide shipping. The Foot Duster Foot Deodorant by Manscaped. The best protection any place below the waist.
First of all, I need to do this first, Vinny, before you get started. Congratulations, Carson Wentz. You played. And I know everybody's going to look at the 4 touchdowns and 27 for 41 and 313 yards. But I do want to point out, and he did throw the game-winning touchdown to Jahan Dotson. Great play by both of them. But I did want to point out, that is exactly Carson Wentz right there. That game summed up the career of Carson Wentz in 4 quarters.
That's
really
right.
good. Really good. Absolutely terrible, about to cost his team a win. And then given an extra chance, able to make a throw that an NFL quarterback, a really good NFL quarterback, can make. That entire game summed up the career of Carson Wentz. And he got away with one and got the win. So congratulations to him for that.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you know, against teams that, and I, as a Jags fan, like I know like where my team is, but that's where Carson Wentz puts his teams in holes, because you play your playoff caliber teams and you give them a second chance, they're not going to let it go. And that mistake at the end of the game from Trevor Lawrence is a rookie mistake. He's just got to, sometimes you just got to throw it out of bounds. Sometimes you just got to take the down and live to fight another day. And he forces it there and it costs the Jaguars the game. But the thing is, for Jacksonville here, I think that this is what you wanted to see this is what you want to see throughout the season. And this is what I talked about when we were previewing this team, is that you just want to see them be competitive in every single game. And although it did not start off like, there were drives that looked good for the Jaguars offense, but then they would stall out. And then it was like, okay, it's getting out. It's like, is this going to be a normal Jags game where it's 14-3 at halftime? And we're like, okay, like, oh boy, this is going to be tough. But at the end of the day, the Jaguars still, they fight. They make this an interesting game, and that's what you want to see. You mentioned Trayvon Walker getting the work and him looking great. I think he had the best performance out of all the defensive rookies this past week, at least on Sunday. I think he was up there. I think that you good?
You need to make sure you give a huge shout out to Devin Lloyd, who played absolutely fantastic yesterday.
I agree. Devin Lloyd played a fantastic game as well. I think he was there making some big plays for them. But I think the impact plays that, I mean, obviously you talk about chains of possession, like those are the types of plays, and that's what Trayvon Walker was able to do. And the young core, you were able to see that, and the new pieces and the new faces on this team, including a Christian Kirk, going out there and having a day. The Jaguars having their first wide receiver to have 100 yards since Marvin Jones last year in like the middle of the season. Like, you have your guy, you have your wide receiver 1 that you went out and paid. He showed out in week 1. It's not like we're going to get to week 8 and we're like, oh, we're waiting to see if Christian Kirk can be the guy. Like, he was the guy in week 1. We got to see it already. That's great. And I want to take my victory lap on James Robinson, because I told everybody
you
this.
Shouldn't. You should. You should take your victory lap on James Robinson as the player and RB1. Yes.
Not for fantasy. I know for fantasy I ended up pivoting and going against what I
Well, that's not why I was going to say no for fantasy, but go ahead.
I know that was the thing. But I will take my victory lap on trying to tell people, and I know you guys were down on ETN and fantasy, but I try to tell people all along that James Robinson is the running back 1 on this team. And what did we see? James Robinson be the running back 1 on this team. Even coming after a torn Achilles, he still out-carried Travis Etienne. He still out-touched Travis Etienne. And even in big plays, and I never was one to say Travis Etienne was a bad player. I just thought that James Robinson was the better player and the lead back in this offense. And even on Sunday, we saw Travis Etienne make mistakes that go out and show why this offense and this rushing attack is going to run through James Robinson. 11 carries, 66 yards, and a tutty. And I was watching this game. This will be the last one. I'm sorry to go on my Jaguars high horse here. but I was watching this game and I watched the start of it. And I was talking to my brother. I was FaceTiming with him. We just had our little FaceTime. Pops was there. And I was like, I wasn't able to watch the game. And he said the Jaguars threw an incomplete pass on the first play of the game. And I was like, who's the running back? He said, I don't know. Does that matter? And I was like, yeah, it does. And then I saw that it was James Robinson to start the game for the majority of the start of the game. And I was like, that told me all I needed to know. James Robinson is still running back 1 in this Jaguars offense.
I mean,
and your ceiling for ETN, by the way, sorry, your ceiling for ETN is Kareem Hunt on the Cleveland Browns. Not a bad ceiling at all, but that's his ceiling with James Robinson there.
I've been saying that forever, that Travis Etienne is not going to be a running back 1 in the NFL. He's not built that way. I know he had a ton of work at Clemson, and I know this is what we do, but look at the traditional style running backs in the NFL, the Zekes, the Derrick Henry. That's more James Robinson than it is Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne was built more like a Alvin Kamara, but the bootleg version to me. Like, that's how I felt. So everything Travis Etienne did was not surprising. Now, there were some times he could have had some big plays that didn't happen, whatever. That could have changed his performance outlook. But there was nothing that surprised me about either one of those usage. James Robinson with 11 carries, about right, coming back from an Achilles. The difference was got in the end zone. It's the kind of, I don't want to say it's similar to the Michael Thomas thing, which is why I was down on the fantasy aspect of it. He was fortunate enough to find the end zone twice. If he doesn't find the end zone twice, his day is very bleh, right? It's just a normal, because getting 11 carries coming off an Achilles is about what you want to see. I thought what was key, though, is that they were not force-feeding Travis Etienne, which tells me that all that I need to know is that they don't care that he was a first-round pick. Doug Peterson put out James Robinson after an Achilles injury, and he played early and often, and to me, that's what is important. I have always been on board with you on the James Robinson train. If healthy, he's the guy. I think he's the running back 1. And I think that's kind of how it plays out the rest of the year. I don't think it much changes with Travis Etienne because I don't see him as an every down back.
What do you think about this
comment? Go ahead.
What do you think about this comment from Robert? He said Jags should have ran the ball down their throat. Look at the stats. I mean, James Robinson averaged 6 yards per carry. Travis Etienne averaged close to 12 yards per carry. They were doing a good job rushing, but really the reason why I asked this question and bring it up is because of the Trevor Lawrence thing and whether or not we should be, is it let Trevor Lawrence cook and just take the games as they go, or should the Jaguars
understand they got down early, right?
Fair.
That automatically kind of lends towards throwing the ball. Shout out, Doug Peterson is not a run first kind of guy. He really does like to throw the football, which means you're probably going to see more games like this than you will vice versa. You're not going to see Jonathan Taylor 30 carries. Doug Peterson ain't doing that. He's got a franchise quarterback. He is going to throw the football. I thought it was fine in this game, the way they came back and played. I thought at the end of the game, the defense just kind of let them down. I was super impressed with the way the defense played in the middle of the game. Early, they got kind of sloppy. They were able to get up early, but in the middle of the game, they buckled down and had Washington on 14 points for the longest time, right? They didn't score until the fourth quarter. And then that fourth quarter, they kind of got sloppy again. And I think that's where they just need to clean things up. I was super impressed with their defense. I was super impressed with the way they played overall. And very similar to Detroit. These are the games that they're going to have to go through in order to start getting wins. So I thought Jacksonville played fine. Trevor Lawrence had a better QBR than Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz went for 304 touchdowns. Yeah. It goes to show you that sometimes stats are misleading. But we just went for like 20 minutes on these teams, and that's way too long. Sorry. But I am going to say this, and we did not mention Antonio Gibson. Can I please get some Antonio Gibson love? Can I please get some Antonio Gibson love? Thank you. Go ahead, Vinny.
Yeah, you're welcome. No, this is what I felt like with all the Jags talking. I know that was probably my fault because I went on for my team here, but I do want to give credit to the Washington Commanders and specifically Antonio Gibson here. 14 carries, 7 receptions, 130 total yards with no touchdowns in this game. I think that this was the game you wanted to see from Antonio Gibson. Obviously, the unfortunate news with Brian Robinson coming out and them saying that there was going to be a battle between those two and who's going to be the running back one for Washington. Now the door opened up. For Antonio Gibson to say, hey, this is my job. I'm rolling with this. I'm taking this. And it was a hell of a start for him. There's your Antonio Gibson love for me. You can proceed if you would like.
I just want to sit here and bask in it. I mean, not only did he average 4 yards a carry, more than 4 yards a carry, but look at the passing usage. He was their second leader in targets. That means not Terry McLaurin, not Jahan Dotson. It was Curtis Samuel and it was Antonio Gibson. And you want to know why that is? Because they offensively, they said, we're not going to allow Carson Wentz to go do the things that he wants to do, which is hold the ball, try to go down the field. Let's get it into our playmakers' hands, Antonio Gibson, Curtis Samuel, and let them go run after the catch. And it was effective. And super impressed by the Washington offensive scheme in this game. I really was. Yeah. Carson Wentz didn't always do it right, but I was impressed with the way they ran their offense. And Antonio Gibson told me all I needed to know. Doesn't matter whether Brian Robinson comes back or not. Antonio Gibson will still be exactly what I thought he was going to be. From a fantasy perspective, he will be a RB2 and with an upside of an RB1. Because in the passing game, it's not J.D. McKissick. It's Antonio Gibson.
Real quick, do you think it still holds true that like one mistake from Antonio Gibson, he still gets the boot, like he still gets the boot or still gets the leash tugged, or do you think after this game it's like he's going to do that?
I think he's earned. We saw no Jared Patterson. I thought that was huge.
Didn't he get
no
cut?
Jared Patterson? No, I think he's still on the team.
No, they waived him. I think he was on the practice squad.
So unless the third running back?
Unless he came up, unless they brought him back up. No, Jonathan Williams is their third running back. That's what.
Well, then I'm definitely not worried.
Yeah. They let go of I if I remember correctly, they practice squad Jared Patterson.
This is the comment that I want every coach to listen to. When you bench a running back over a fumble, it is the stupidest thing in the world. You don't bench your quarterback when he throws an interception. You don't bench your wide receiver when he drops a pass. But when your running back fumbles, it's like, oh no, he fumbled. We got to do something. Yeah. And you automatically tear that person down. Zeke had a fumbling issue a couple of years ago, and people were talking about they should bench Zeke, and I just laughed. We need to move on. Let's move on. But yeah, that Antonio Gibson showed me what I needed to see.
Also, shout out Curtis Samuel in this game. 8 receptions, 55 yards. He was making plays. A tutty in this game as well. 4 carries, 17 yards. What's the play of the game, buddy?
I don't even remember what the play of the game is in this one, but it's got to be the Jahan Dotson catch. Carson Wentz, good throw here, one-on-one coverage. You let your receiver go make a play. Campbell got lost there, and I thought did a poor job. I think in that situation, you have to get PI. Like I really do. I think you have to just tackle the guy if you can't find the ball. Doesn't get his head turned around, and it was poor technique. And unfortunately, Jahan Dotson's really good and has really great hands and makes the catch for the game winner. So shout out Jahan Dotson, 2 touchdowns in his first NFL action.
I was really bummed at that because it did look like the cornerback was just like he never turned his head and nothing ever happened. But next up for the Jacksonville Jaguars, they will take on and host the Indianapolis Colts, and the Washington Commanders will travel to Detroit to take on the Lions.